Hey everybody, here's my interview with Fox Jones. Hey Fox.
Hey,
So first of all, I know the latest book came out March 17th, so congratulations.
thank you. Thank you.
Are you excited? How you feeling?
Um, it more relieved is like just birthing another baby. It is like, whoo, it's out, but okay, how is it gonna turn out? So it's a lot of those feelings.
Okay, well, let's get into it because I got a million questions to ask you about this book and I want to set people up for like what to expect. So there's of course the first book is When the Tiger Lily Blooms
Yep.
of the series. And then you just released There Will Be Thorns. Catch people up real quick on what was When the Tiger Lily Blooms about and how does that start the transition into There Will Be Thorns?
When the Tiger Lily Blooms was about when Jemeka or Onyx, the main character, um, re- recently military vet, didn't know what to do with her life, lost her best friend due to suicide, became an operative to get back at the guys who pretty much did the same thing to her friend that they did to her. And as she's going through her missions and targets, she's realizing, okay, a lot of things ain't what it seems. So now we go to the second book where she emerges from that and becomes full fledged, more seasoned, more in control, and takes on more of a leadership role and more elite level status as an operative. So
Mhm.
that's where we're at, and There Will Be Thorns.
Okay, but in There Will Be Thorns, you
Mm-hmm.
open the cover. I'm gonna walk you through it. You open the cover. You go through, by the way, thank you for the personalized message and the card. That was so sweet. I love the bookmark. So you go through the cover, there's a poem, there's a table of contents, there's acknowledgments, and then you're literally how the book ended. It is literally like the next 60 seconds of how the book ended. Why did you start the book like that?
Well, it's more like a punch, like, whoa, we're not done. And there's no time for her to take a break. It's like straight into, okay, tell me what happened. And oh, by the way, this is your new boss.
Because when I opened the book, I felt like I had not taken a break. I was like, wait a minute. Y'all, they in the airport, and like I'm trying not to give too much away, but they in the airport
Right.
after the big airport scene happened in book one. They're in the airport and they're leaving. They're leaving the scene of what just happened very quickly.
Right.
Cleanup has been done on that event. That like for me, my mind was just like, what is going on in Fox's mind? Okay. So, there's so many beautiful moments in the book, and we're gonna talk about a few of them. The first one that I really wanted to talk about was the send off for Harry. Now we meet Harry in the first book, and when the Tiger Lily blooms, he is
Mm-hmm.
a part of, let's say, the final quarter of the book looking
Mm-hmm.
out for Jemeka, and he really takes a liking to Jemeka in this different way. We see them. I forget what European city they were in, but they were in Europe. He was taking her through the city. We know Harry has another name in the other book, and so the
Mm-hmm.
final call, the readout that you guys did at the funeral felt like what I've seen happen for like officers who were killed in like the line of duty. And it was a
Mm-hmm.
reminder point for me that, oh, these characters are actually post-military. So this is kind of why that's there. But there was such a deep level of care for me and how you wrote that scene out. And I wonder what it felt like to create that for Harry, who was such an integral part of the group. And why was it important for you to take care of him in that way?
Well, truth be told, that took me 2 weeks to write that scene. I mean, I was crying because Harry was also a part of me too. And it was like, man, did I make a mistake? Should I bring him back? But I'm like, no, if I'm feeling this way, that means somebody else is probably going to feel that loss. And also, I wanted to do Harry justice because he was there for Jamaica during that time, along with Citrine. And it was just, I had to take very special care. So I literally took my time, slowed down, stepped away for like good 2 weeks, and then did my due diligence with it.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like it was a slower moment in the book. Like I reread that
Yeah.
scene a few times because you come to love Harry and you come to see him as somebody who is looking out especially for Jemeka, who in some
Mm-hmm.
situations needs it because she's still
Mm-hmm.
healing, not just from the suicide of her friend, but also the loss of the other friend. Um, and
Oh
what
yes.
yes, 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 yes. And we see that in the book. Um, to that point, you give such a depth to the characters. And I'm curious about your choice to give us so much as readers. Specifically, in the first book, we see that Jemeka gets down with the gets down. She likes a little
Mm-hmm.
sex. Um, but I think it's more than her liking sex. She loves the sensory experience, all of the parts
Mm-hmm.
that connect to it with men that she believes are
Mm-hmm.
trustworthy. And
Yes.
they not always trustworthy, including Paul,
Nah.
stank ass.
Yep.
Like
Yes.
Paul really had me on some Tyra Banks shit where I was like, we were rooting for you. Like I made me so doggone mad. Like I was so mad. But I think what's interesting about Jemeka, and given that she liked to get down with the get down safely, you could have easily written her as an operative who only relied on sex to get the answers
Mm-hmm.
that she wants. And she doesn't lean on that at all. She just happens to be engaged. The people that she's after happens to be men who she knows and cares for. And there's this sexual element. And so part of me is curious about why was it important for you to show her as a full human and not just like the one dimensional aspect? But added to that, we also meet Io, the German guide.
Yeah.
And you see how she approaches the group on the bridge. Then this
Mm-hmm.
moment where there's some question about her maybe being autistic. And then you
Mm-hmm.
see a completely different side of her for the rest of the book. Again, you show this fullness and this depth. I'm curious about was it so important for you to write Jemeka as a fully dimensional human? And also, why do you give us as the reader so much?
Well, as a reader, I would like to know more about the character that I'm invested in. And a lot of times, the one thing I tried to avoid was the trope of, yep, she's an operative and she's using her body as a weapon, sex as a weapon. I did not want to do that. It's like, you know what? No, women are layered. And I think to do this whole group justice, that's what I try to do. I try to give each character some type of depth so you can actually feel them instead of just reading them, following along. I wanted the reader to walk away from, hey, I know somebody like that, or hey, I've had that in my life, or hey, I'm reading me. And that is what I wanted to do. And in the case of Io, I also realized too, a lot of times when you're reading stories such as that, you don't read if they're autistic. You may hint at it, you may think about it, but no, I wanted there to be no doubt, like, no, she's autistic. But she could still function. She was still helpful. She was still useful. She was not depending too much on anybody. And also how it feels when you have someone in your midst, how you may have to adjust and then tell them no. They actually like it when you don't treat them different. They actually like it when you are treating them like a human being. They want to see your frustration. They want because you are actually seeing them as a person and not because of their disability.
Yeah, and I thought it was actually Harry who made the
Mm-hmm.
connection, right? On the bridge.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and I thought the addition of all of the new characters was
Mm.
so interesting. Just as a side note, because we're gonna get into it, but like as a side note, how Glacier kind of slid out and was like, I
Mm-hmm.
got it. I'm like, nah, something about to drop, and Glacier is trying to cover her butt. That's what it felt like to me in that moment. I was like, I don't know if Glacier can be trusted. Something else that we see in the book, you mentioned oh yeah, there's African spirituality all throughout the book. Even when they went to, I think, like the Cuban restaurant, there was all of this like
Mm-hmm.
fusion. The scene specifically though with Royce, Onyx, Marcel, Citrin, reading bones and summoning the ancestors for guidance, it honestly felt like it
Hmm.
could be something out of Sinners. And again, there's this cultural piece specifically to Black and African spirituality, these pieces that kind of live and linger in the book. What type of research did you do to make sure you got it right? And like, why was it important for you to have in this book that really could just be about people killing people?
Well, again, with the depth thing, and I wanted to connect their regions like they all have something in common. And with Marcel and Citrine, they're from Louisiana. Onyx is from the Tidewater region in North Carolina. Royce is from the Appalachian Mountains. So to have them all connected in that, to me, I really wanted to show something. And when I was, and I'm pretty sure, I mean, I have family members, I research history and all of that to just see, you just to add some depth in there, because sometimes, we do call upon the ancestors. It's not always about other things, but sometimes that does work in there. And by the way, I did that before Sinners even became a thing. So
And I believe that you did, but I was just like, it's such an interesting time where so many of us came around Sinners, and through watching it, we felt this connection. And so it was great to also see it show up in this book as well. Even though I knew that you've been working on the book like before Sinners it came out, it was like, man, this is such an interesting touch. Especially, for people who are reading this book, most of them have already seen Sinners. I think that it's going to connect for them in that way and be like, yeah, there is this moment that our generation is starting to revisit what our ancestors did and how they commune with the spirits
mhm,
and the ancestors as guides. Something else we see in the book that makes sense for a spy book is the use of technology, specifically crystal.
yes.
Um, was it fun playing around with ideas of how crystal as this new gadget would play with the characters? Because when you first introduced her, I immediately was like, "Ooh, this is gonna get touchy," because Crystal is gonna be privy to all of these conversations, right?
Hmm.
That no one knows about until Jemeka is able to divulge. But Crystal becomes her own character because
Hmm.
she's able to keep track of Jemeka's heart rate. And even when she's powered down, she's still working offline, collecting everything that's around. What was it like for you to introduce her and build her as a character into this really, from book one to book two, this expansive world of characters?
Well, with Crystal, I wanted to go into it because during the time period was watching this show called Halo, and he had Cortana, and I was really intrigued by how Cortana was there, but at the same time really had limitations. So then with Thundercats, if you know, you know, Lionel had Jaga, and Jaga was his spiritual advisor. He was always there, but again, he really didn't tell him what to do. So what I wanted to do was merge the two, and that's where Crystal came from. And I thought it was really fun to explore her. I thought first it'd be like, maybe introduce it, whatever. But I also wanted to show the more Onyx used Crystal, the more she became into her own, and having that cheerleader on her side saying, "You got this," and actually calling her commander to
Mhm.
remind her of who she was. And once I actually went into that, it was a lot more fun to do with her. And I decided, instead of limitations, just get as far as I can go. That is believable, of course.
Yeah, because I think because of how she was introduced so early in the book, after, like
Mm-hmm.
right after, like this is her going back to the nut, which is where everyone meets up at, right? That's ultimately what it's called. This
Mm-hmm.
is her going back to the nut after having some time off because of what happened at the airport. I'm trying not to spoil it, because of what happened at
Right,
the
right,
airport, right? And the first thing that's on the agenda is you about to have a new boss, and also we giving you some new technology that only you know about that no one else has. So
right.
that's intense. But I thought it was handled with such care, and I think it would have been easy for Jemeka to use her as a crutch throughout the book. But to your point, we see her really become her cheerleader and her second form of affirmation to say, like, yes, you're going in the right direction, Commander. So I thought she was well done. I emailed you before today's interview to email you this question because I walked
Mm-hmm.
away. I would say I was maybe halfway, maybe 2/3 through the book, and I was like, bro, why is this not a movie? Why has someone not purchased the rights to these books in the next one and like made it into a movie because it's so good? So I was curious, who would you cast or who could you see playing some of the main characters in the book?
So what's funny is I've always thought about that, and for Jemeka Onyx, I was actually thinking either Ryan Starr or Coco Jones, one of those two with that energy. Because especially after Ryan Starr playing Clarissa Shields, she's got the grit. So I'm thinking,
Mm.
you know what? I can see her as Jemeka Onyx bring it to life. With Citrine, I was thinking Yara Shahidi or Chloe Bailey. Because Chloe Bailey, I think she got some sass to her if you really pull it out of her.
Yeah.
And Yara Shahidi, I think because she, no question, I just think that would be perfect for her. Also with Marcel, I was thinking, or Jaguar, a younger Terrence Howard type energy around like Empire. So
Mm.
he could be like Lucius, smooth, cold, calculated at the same time. So I could go down the whole list. Glacier and Ruby, automatically I thought Queen Latifah as Glacier from her character from The Equalizer. That's how I see her. Ruby as Jada Pinkett Smith. That's her sidekick. So a
Mm.
lot of so I've been thinking about that a little bit.
No, I like that there's also diversity in age, right? Like in the group, you got some of the like older folks really kind of taking the helm in this way of leadership and bringing these operatives into the fold. Which kind of brings starts to bring us towards the end of the book. So it's also learned towards the end of the book that this
Mm-hmm.
network that Jemeka belongs to, this operative cell that she belongs to, that
Ooh.
that in the first book you think is completely woman owned, woman run, right? Which
Mm-hmm.
is why Harry as an addition was such a thing. And also who's the new guy, Quartz?
Yes,
Because
Quartz.
we don't see because we don't see we don't see a lot of men in the book who she not killing, right? Because these
Mm-hmm.
men are bad news bears. But now we find out that this network is part of a much, much bigger network. And literally, right before the book ends, you introduce us to some man named Neiman. What do we
Mm-hmm.
need to know about this man?
He is the shadow. He is the shadow master. He controls everything. He's in the shadows. And I can't say too much about him because he will have his own feature in another project that may be coming out this year.
Is Neiman worse than the general that they took out at the party?
Yes.
Mm, 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 listen. I was so as we're learning about him in the last few pages of the book, I am clutching the collar of my robe because I'm like, we only got like 2, 3 pages left. Like, where is this going? And I'm like, I know Fox didn't. I know Fox didn't do this to me again. I know she didn't. I know there has to be a third book. There has to be a third book coming.
Yes,
Thank you, Jesus.
there's a third, and right now it's final, but not the end to the universe, but it's the end to Jemeka's story.
Ooh, ooh. Okay. As an extra couple questions, will there be spin-offs? Right? So we know we got the series where this story will kind of
Mm-hmm.
continue. Will characters get their own spin-off and start their own part of the universe? Or nah, you're not really thinking that right now.
Oh, it's going to happen. I can't tell
Okay.
you which ones though.
Ooh, okay. Okay, now I'm gonna tell you what I thought right before Glacier said what she said to Onyx and kind of slid the paper across the desk. The thought that I had was, what if Jemeka becomes Glacier at some point? And I thought what
Mm.
was happening was when Glacier was like, I'm stepping down, I was like, oh, snaps, not me predicting what's happening in the book. And then I saw I was wrong because that's not what was happening. But I'm curious, like, what are your thoughts around I'm curious around how does Jemeka, wait a minute, let me back it up. You said Jemeka's story is ending. What that
Hmm.
mean, Fox Jones?
I can't tell you that. I cannot tell you that.
Lord, don't kill Jemeka. Oh, Lord. Lord, don't kill Jemeka. Please don't kill Jemeka. Um, okay, I'm pretending I didn't hear that. What do you see Jemeka's leadership evolving in the nut? Do you see her evolving and
Yes.
eventually becoming a glacier, or who's the new character, Sid, kind of having a high
Yes.
level role like that? Okay, okay, okay. Listen, I just gotta wait for the third book. So what else would you want the people listening to this to know about the book, about what's coming, like kind of final thoughts?
So basically, we actually see what Jemeka bloomed into, and the stakes are higher. There, I mean, it's a lot higher and more images and more people, meaning more missions and a lot of twists. Not as far as I didn't see that coming, more like I did see that coming, but I didn't know how that was going to feel. So if you're into that type thing, like high stakes, heart pumping type, whoa, this is the book for you.
It is it is high stakes. It is heart pumping. You do clutch your pearls several times. You do have moments where you're like, oh, okay. And I think in both books, something that you do so extremely well is that you put the readers in the room. So you create, and even in the first book, you create sensory images that really make it feel like I can feel what it feels like in the room. I can see what it's like to be in the room. I can smell what it's like to be in the room. And I have the same heart palpitations as I'm kind of, as a reader, it feels like you're a silent observer to what's about to go down in the room, even when you know what's to come. It is so hard not to be emotionally involved. And I think that for me, I need that. I love good fiction. I can read a good fiction book in hours. I've read both of your books in hours. It felt like I was right there, like I was a little baby operative eating popcorn in the background watching this happen. Again, you have such a gift. It is such a joy to read this book. I will be right here
Mm-hmm.
waiting on the third book. I can't
Thank
wait to read
you.
it. Um, this has been really, really incredible, and you have such a gift, and I'm so honored to be on this journey with you. Thank you so much, Fox, for coming back and talking about the
Thank
book. Yes, this was incredible. So I'll make sure to include the links to both books
Okay.
on Amazon in the bio. Everybody needs to read it. You need to start a book club. You need to have both of these books first on your list. Like, that's how serious it is. I promise you will not want to put this book down. You're gonna want to put your kids to bed and you just gonna want to read all night. You ain't gonna want to do nothing else. I promise you. All right, Fox. I love you so much. Thank you and congratulations on the second book.
Thank you for the opportunity, and it was great seeing and talking to you again. This has been an amazing opportunity and journey with y'all, especially with you. Thank you.